Okay. Morning, students, staff, and guests. I'm Carlos, your moderator for today's session. So I'm delighted to welcome you all to today's master lecture at HKDI. It's my utmost pleasure to introduce you our esteemed speaker for today, Professor VENNERI. Educated in fashion technology and design at TAFE Sydney, Professor VENNERI has since held a significant role in the global fashion industry. She has a very rich career spanning across continents and prestigious fashion houses such as Canali, Max Mara, and the Select Group. Currently, she shares her wealth of knowledge with students at IED, Moda, and Milan as a lecturer, while also managing the textile lab. So what we're going to do today, Professor VENNERI will take us on a journey through the heart of Italian fashion in the presentation, exploring Italian fashion made in Italy. We will explore the culture, tradition, craftsmanship, and that have anchored Italy as a leader in the global fashion industry. I personally find it really interesting to explore how Italy's unique heritage, its tradition, skill, knowledge, and experience are the key to creating effective development strategies in design. So without further ado, let us extend a warm welcome to Professor Francis VENNERI with a round of applause. We look forward to insights on the unique blend of tradition and innovation that continues to position Italian fashion at the forefront of the global stage. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me and welcome. And I hope you find the lecture interesting. I'd like to start with this video. It'll set the mood for maybe the what's coming after.
To understand the history of Italian design, you need to look at the products, but also at the places where they are born. Our manufacturing plants are so unique. No other country in the world has the same diversity and capacity. Italian companies live in small towns, surrounded by landscapes and industrial areas, next to the countryside, the coast, a mountain slope. Our inseparable bond with production sites vouches for the constant exchange between past and present, skills and nature, technology and craftsmanship. Design cements the bond of creativity and products into a universal value system called Made in Italy. Where technical and cultural production is carried out, magic happens and an idea is made into an exciting object, material or technology. Here, the tradition of Italian craftsmanship is revived using advanced industrial processes that seize the opportunities that digital and energy transitions provide. Environmental challenges urge design to undergo a profound shift, from rethinking practices for an efficient use of resources to redesigning durable and reusable products. Sustainable and human-oriented, design generates visions you realize by using other knowledge and a constant exchange between industry and research. Because the creation of happiness, along with the protection of the environment, is the very goal of design, a true intangible heritage of mankind. Culture, beauty, innovation and passion, along with social and cultural well-being, are the essentials of a model that is based on a simple and effective formula: to put man at the center of a company. This concept goes beyond the stock company to embody a people company, communities that share, preserve, and hand down the skills of Italian know-how.
Presentation. Okay, I think that video explains a lot about what Italy has to promote, and I guess it talks a lot about the beauty of the country. It's also about craftsmanship in every area of design, not just in fashion. I think some key words maybe that we should try and remember is craftsmanship, culture, uniqueness, beauty, tradition, community, and generation, because most of these companies are family orientated and they pass down their know-how from generation to generation. Passion is another big word that explains how the know-how comes about. Technology, excellence, and creativity. The Italian craftsmanship is the heart and soul of the Italian economy. All the best Italian-made products, they blend together all these key words. Every area is also dedicated with passion and always improving, involving modern techniques, digital technology, always up-to-date methods for production. And that's what gives the edge of Italian style and flair. Okay, now here's just a little bit about. Okay, here we talk about Italian excellence and craftsmanship. We know undeniably that Italian craftsmanship is the heart and soul, is what I was saying before. It's uniqueness, excellence, and durability. It also carries with it skills, gestures and words, memories filled with history and heritage. Now, to understand the Italian heritage, we have to go back to the 14th, 16th century. There is the Renaissance period was already a huge laboratory where skilled craftsmen worked together as a community and provided all the skills necessary to be able to put all that effort into making even just one product. And that's the uniqueness. Let's have a look here, sorry. Okay, we talk about the designers and the Italian manufacturers and how they produce wonderful clothes and exquisite accessories. Again, these are objects of desire. And this taste and style sets a standard for all the Italian products. Okay, let me go ahead here. Understanding the history of Italian design means that you're looking at the products. Also the territories where they come from, where they originate. Our manufacturing plants are actually quite unique, very different to other countries. I must say that being working in Italy now for many years, I can say that there is a lot of information that's shared. These small companies, they're located in different districts, we call them districts, around the peninsula, are often very generous and sharing their information and their know-how with you. I think that's what I found in Italy compared to other countries that I've worked in. They will always help you try to solve a problem, try to make your idea, whether it's in design, whether it's in a fabric, whether it's in a garment. We've always worked together to find a solution. And I think that is quite rare. And I think that's what in Italy, it saves itself in moving forward now into another economy, which is a circular economy. Here, just a moment. If we look at the history and the creativity and the passion that goes beyond the roots of Italian fashion, and yes, looking back at the Renaissance, there were certain laboratories, I said before, and hubs that were created. That's quite unique. It's almost basically the same even now. So from such a long history till today, we haven't changed, and it hasn't changed at all. So from the post-war years of the 20th century, where the very first fashion show was born, where an entrepreneur, Giovanni Battista Giorgini, had this idea of collecting garments from around Italy. And these where new designers started to come about. They were like tailors, like the Fontana sisters and Capucci. They became quite famous. And it was the very first fashion show at the Palazzo Pitti in Florence. And then there was the development of the Hollywood scene that provided for the Americans, let's say, a stage, because every area of Italy is actually quite beautiful. As you saw in the video, they used it as an open air set. So films like Roman Holiday and Cleopatra and Dal Dolce Vita, which was like Italian, became quite famous. And also the Dolce Vita became a way of life. You'll find that in Italy, people really care about their style. A lot of regions have different styles as well as when it comes to personal style. You will find that in Milan, they're a bit different where they are in Rome, and again, different also in the area where they are in Venice or in Emilia-Romagna, which is like close to Florence. But they generally care about the way they look. So it's not just frivolous, and made in Italy is something that is very, very thought of and valued in Italy. Okay, so let's get into the district formation. This is quite a particular type of network. It's uniquely Italian. I know other countries have also these networks, but in Italy, I think it all works really well because it's a very small country. The peninsula has so many different types of districts. Now, what I have here are the main districts in the textile area. So we have Biella, which is in the northern part of Italy, which specializes in very luxury wools, very fine wool. We talk about merino, very super fine wool. We talk about cashmere, camel hair, vicuña, which is also a very interesting product that's just coming about. I also have a book here with the original swatches of these fabrics, if you want to have a look later. Lombardia, a shirting district, exclusive shirts made to measure. Como, we all know Como is the silk district, printing, jacquards, producing the finest silks. Prato, another interesting district, which is a district for recycling wool. Now, that has been come about many, many years ago. It's always been quite famous, the Prato, which is like in the region of Florence, where they recycle all materials. So in reality, we've been recycling materials for many, many years. I mean, dates back to the, in the beginning of the century. Lombardy again, technical fabrics, all the last and high technical applications to a technical fabric. Now inventing like Gore-Tex in like a green version as well. There's a lot of research that goes into trying to make these fabrics unique. Also, we have Carpi. Carpi is in the area of Emilia-Romagna. And I will show you the map later. But this is like a district that is dedicated to knitwear and knitwear yarns. Also, we have an area in Veneto, which is dedicated to garment dyeing and specializes in also just dyeing fabrics and trying to make them unique. So coming together here, I'll go back here for a second. Italy has been producing luxury textiles since the medieval times, spending cloths the finest of wool and silk and heavily embroidered with gold and adorn the nobility and the royalty of Europe. Today, this tradition carries on with fine textiles now being produced for top fashion houses and luxury interior designers for the elite. And technology may have advanced, but the old skills and devotion to quality is what makes Italian textiles so special. One particular thing is here that I've noted is that just a simple thing that most wools are made because Biella is in the mountains. And so when you're producing wool and the washing methods used, if the wool has too much lime and is not a lightweight water, well, I hope I can make it clear. Normally it's laden with salts and lime, whereas the Biella region is in the mountains. So they have like a very clear water. So the wool itself, when it's produced, makes it different. The quality is different. And that does make a big difference. So I think maybe we can put the, where's Tom? We can put the other video on. Okay, I think I'd like to show you this other video where, and then I'll go on with this one, where we show, I just wanted to show you a little bit about the craftsmanship. And besides, these videos are actually made by the Ministry of the Internal Affairs, the Foreign Affairs. This is the specific video that was sent for the Italian Design Day. I actually think that's a very nice summary of the last words that were in that the last image, because it actually projects a little bit of passion and how that transforms into an object or objects of desire, I imagine. So reinventing, what I'd like to talk about also is the Made in Italy. It's a label that brings assurance and of top quality, creativity, and it blends a lot of the product development, the execution, technology, and also the heritage. So in reality, Made in Italy is very important for the economy, and a lot is done, being that also the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the government itself, to promote and to make sure that these small companies survive to be able to produce all the products which give us a name of Made in Italy. And I think that's an amazing thing, because the design sometimes is very difficult. It's difficult to recognize how important that is. And design and innovation is something that is fundamental when you talk about a product. So there's also the crucial theme today, which is prolonging the life of a product, so we can recycle it, reuse it, and also use secondary materials. It's become the focus with the Italian resourcefulness, and the creativity strives to make more efficient, more intelligent, and more innovative use of materials. Thanks to the district formations, as I was saying, explaining previously, the Italian manufacturing, they meld these traditions and all these key words together to be able to promote and make new products. Also using the power of limit. Limit has always been something that I think in Italy, that's why they've become so resourceful. They've always had scarcity in raw materials. So they create products using, let's say, with scarcity means that it makes the person understand that they have to invent something which is still amazing, but also with limited resources. And so they use a lot of prioritization and they use the key elements to construct the value of a product using limit. Okay, which also means using leftovers as well, yeah, or secondary recycling materials. So the reinvention of a business model from generation to generation takes place around the family as a site of contrast and continuity of a generation, revitalization management, representing a model that values trust, also longevity, providing a company with intergenerational exchange. So from generation to generation, it's not that they carry over just the old skills. They would become the base of that model, but also reinvention, and also the younger generation brings a lot of fresh air and ideas, which are again removed and revolved and inserted into the model. That's what makes the Italian model even modern, okay? So over a long time, they also use loyalty as to their workers, because even if the workers are older, they become seniors, they still hold the skills in their hands. So that is something that's fundamental, to involve these people and to be able to teach the younger generation. And so the skills are sent down from generation to generation. You probably would understand that in the Renaissance time, this is where it all starts, obviously, but there was the laboratory I was talking about before I mentioned. It's the same model. It's just been sent down from generation to generation, from century to century. And I think that's what makes the Italian model quite unique. Now, let's see what else I've got here. These are the districts, areas, so you can see. This is the map of Italy, and it's funny enough, it does look like a boot. For some reason, it gives the impression that they do make wonderful shoes. That's true. So we have like the Biella district, which is like in the yellow, the Lombardia, the pale green, and then we have the Trentino, which is close to the Swiss Alps. And also we have Veneto, Emilia-Romagna, which is like in the center. It's just before Tuscany. And then also the Marche. Now, the other areas in Italy that are in white that I haven't identified, this was specifically for my textile districts. Obviously, the whole peninsula has different areas that produce different things. So shoes, bags, sunglasses in Veneto. Then they have like furniture, ceramics, anything you want. Italy is incredibly rich when it comes to products. Okay, this again is for the district formation. It gives you an area of what that area does, which is more or less what I was showing you before with the fabrics. Now, the made in Italy is something that, obviously we spoke about that before, but there's one thing that's really certain, is that it's always been a point of reference in the world. And like I'm saying, what I was saying before, I mentioned that there is a lot of help to maintain that. So the government is investing quite a lot of money into actually making that survive and even become better. So it becomes like a good model to follow. Okay, make fashion circular is really important as well. So today we face problems. There's a crucial theme of how we make and how we can make products that will last, and how we can use the secondary materials. I think in Italy we see it as an opportunity, as an adventure, an opportunity. It's true that the fact that we have these districts, there's always been a circular economy there. it's always been there. We just now have to put it into a bigger and a larger scale. But the communities that were working together have always worked together. They've always limited transport. They've always limited use of too much of everything. And they've always used, they base their production even on scarcity, which is something very interesting because I don't think that approach is very common. I think that if a company has to be aware of their wastes, then I think that is interesting because it makes you realize that that they are already thinking in the right way. So there's environmental challenges point to the new opportunities. And thanks also to the Italian manufacturing traditions within our country's grasp, the circular economy is one of the most exciting and promising of these opportunities. Italy, which is naturally poor in some natural resources, has always strived to make more efficient, intelligent, and innovative use of materials. From scrap metal in Brescia to recycled fabrics from Prato and waste paper in Lucca, implementing what today we call the circular economy. Okay, so I think I'm going to conclude here with the last slide, where gradually the diffusion of the circular approach will enable more and more companies to free themselves from dependence on costly virgin resources, while also increasing resilience and competitiveness. And this will favor their strategic adoption of a sustainable business and creation of a shared value for society. Italy's innovation story in respect to its essence and traditions is a model of economy and society that is more sustainable, more competitive and fairer. And they could represent the Italian response to the burning issues posed for the planet by the present and the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. VENNERI. Interesting, and I love the video and the map actually to let us know where is Italy specifically and what region. Now we're going to start with a little Q&A session. So if students or staff or guests, if you have any questions that you want to ask on Italy or made in Italy, now's the time.
Does anybody have any questions or queries that they want to take the advantage of?
Oh, Lola has a question.
Yeah, Francis, thank you very much for your presentation. Actually, I find that you touched a bit about the circular economy in your presentation, and I'm interested in how is the circular economy problem faced within the Made in Italy. You touched a bit about the wiser use of the materials in different districts of Italy, and then I'm really interested in this topic because we also invite quite a lot of speakers to talk about these topics before, and then I would like to know more about how Italy is moving towards to adopt it. Yeah, can you share about your experience with us? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. I think circular economy made in Italy, again, thanks to the districts that we have, the formation and the Italian manufacturing, it just gels everything together. And so they're moving forward. They're developing new technologies. The technology that they use is something that is helping a lot to make things more simple for the country and to produce the products in an efficient way without wastage. Yeah. Also, when I talked about limits, now working also with limits, two examples come to me, which is interesting, is that when in Italy it was working, raw resources were quite limited. If you think about the famous mocha, the coffee machine, comes from a very poor element, material of aluminium. At the time, there wasn't other resources. So that has become something quite important. The iconic mocha, you all know what the mocha is, the coffee machine maker. It was made in a time where there was a limit of resources. And another thing that comes to mind is also Michele Ferrero. And Michele Ferrero was, he's obviously the chocolate maker, yeah, was the inventor of the Nutella. And the reason that Nutella came about was simply because at the time, it was just like post-war, there was not enough cocoa. And so in his region, they produced a lot of hazelnuts. And so his idea was to mix the hazelnuts inside the chocolate. And so that's how Nutella was actually born. And obviously today is something that very iconic in Italy as well. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay.
Let's see. I like Italy a lot.
Yeah.
I like it so good there, and people know how to enjoy life. But facing to the fast-pacing, consuming international market, so how Italian designs can cope with or facing this kind of fast-pacing consumer world?
I think it's a challenge. I think the one good thing is that they don't forget their roots. And I think they draw a lot of energy from that. I also, well, being in the industry myself, we're always working at a very fast pace. Like that, I think is same in every country. It just means that they're generating more ideas. And I think the fact that we're trying now to sort of take a step back to try and keep our heritage where the products are going to last longer. They have to last longer. I think everyone is taking this into consideration now, because we know that the mass production doesn't give us the results or the image that Made in Italy is. I think Made in Italy has a very strong image, and to keep that image alive, we need to go back to our roots and draw energy from there, I think.
Right. Yeah, I do agree with the whole Made in Italy as a label itself, because when I was working in ministry, everything that came or sourced from Italy was significantly better, but also more expensive at the same time. So yeah, it was a very well-known label. And also, Francis, in your presentation, you mentioned a lot about heritage.
Yeah.
We know how important the history of Italy is to how it is formed today. Back in medieval time, even to Roman Empire, Cleopatra time. Can you share us a bit more about how unique do you think the Italian heritage is and how important it is?
Well, yes, extremely. I think that's just like the basis of how Italy has come about. Like I said, you've got to go back to the roots, back to the history. Renaissance was like a very, very important period where these laboratories, where these hubs were actually born. The community would work together. So you would have someone who worked metal, you would have someone who worked stone, you would have someone who worked textiles, someone who worked with leather, someone who was a philosopher, someone who talked about, life in general. So I think that is really the key of putting this big culture together, where the industry becomes culture and culture becomes industry. I think they've also very cleverly executed products where they become industrious as well.
Great. Right, great. Yeah, that really answers my questions. First, I have one more question for myself, because within this campus, we have fashion department, we also have architecture department and digital media department within the same campus. And we would love to know, because what we want to do here is really having the departments work together, how interior design could also use fabrics, how maybe we could have communication design using fashion or textile. Do you see the same culture or same movement in Italy?
Yeah, definitely. I think the more you intertwine different experiences, the better. Even because it gives you a perspective to create a product that has more elements. And I think, I guess in Italy, we're quite lucky because we are surrounded by beauty, we're surrounded by architecture, we're surrounded by all of this. So it makes it easier to actually draw and understand, and your antennas are always around trying to collect different images, and that's important. So the more people you're working with, the better. I think the idea of actually keeping and working singularly doesn't actually work anymore. I think a network is much more healthy and it's easier, I think.
Certainly. So that's why within this institute, we also encourage collaboration across different classes within the same program, or even across programs and across departments.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's very important. I think it's been working very well within the school. That's the only design school in Hong Kong we are.
No, that's great. Yeah, very, very good. I think that's interesting.
Hi, thanks. Nice to meet you. And thanks for the meaningful sharing. So I have a lot of questions about Hong Kong, as you might know, 70s, 80s, and Hong Kong is very well known for the manufacturing and design fashion thing. I think now we are a lot from the Italian design, from fashion or art things, furniture things. But how do you, is there any system or like tips we can learn from the Italian? Because Italy, I think people like the skill is very unique, right? The craftsmanship is mostly because the elderly, the older people or experienced people pass to the younger generation.
Yeah.
But I find this Hong Kong is facing a problem. The young generation stop because the more skill they pass to the China or like anywhere, but it's not in Hong Kong. So I guess today we have many young generation here, like mostly is in the fashion industry. So any tips we can learn from the Italian system or like or mental, how we can learn from each other?
I think the generation we have I think the same problem in Italy also is arising today with the younger generation. Like I'm talking like Generation Z mainly. They tend to want to maybe not become what their parents are. Yeah, they want to do their own thing. I think it takes a couple of years for them to realize that having a skill is something very precious. One, because it helps you maintain a certain level, even mentally. Using your hands is something very, very important, okay? Today, we focus a lot on our phones. We focus a lot on what other people think. Whereas when you're making something, and I think that's where I think the fashion course is interesting, because you're actually making a garment, right? You're actually producing something, you're making a drawing, you're even in architecture, you're trying to experiment with different materials. I think that is in itself something very, very educational. I find even the students that I have when I'm at teaching at our university, some tend to want to find a short, cut corners and find a shortcut to how to do things. And I stress a lot that you've got to go through the process. if you go through the process, that helps mentally tune into that mentality. The mentality of looking for details, the mentality of excellence, the mentality of developing a passion. These are things that happen when you actually are there and you use your hands to do that. You develop mental skills, which are very different to what, you know, scrolling through your phone.
Yeah, that tends to happen with the younger generation nowadays. What the younger generation is also interested in is traveling around. And I would love to know, Francis, just give us an, which province or which district should we go to as a student that want to explore what Italian fashion is or what made in Italy is?
Okay, Lombardia would be like Milano. I guess it's a hub of but then all the small companies are in different, it depends what you're interested in. If you're interested in doing shoes and bags, then there's areas for that. If you're interested in clothing, fashion, then again, I would say the North has that, but then you are also traveling around. I mean, what I do when I'm actually making something or working on a collection, I travel quite a bit. You know, you get in your car and you go to different areas because different areas are specialized in different things. So if you want to do eyewear, then you would, you know, Luxottica is in Veneto. Just really depends on what you're interested in. Actually, it's interesting because you can narrow it down. You don't have to travel the all of Italy to be able to do something specialized. I think that's a good thing, that you can focus on particular districts that you're interested in. And definitely Italians are very, very friendly and they're very nice too. I mean, they've never ever, even when I arrived, I first arrived in Italy and I started working, did all my schooling in Australia. So I came to Italy as a foreigner, even though my parents were Italian, but I didn't speak that much Italian. They always treated me with respect. If I had an idea, they would always try to help me. There's not this jealousy about their own and trying to protect their own skills. I think they like to share, which is nice.
Right. Yeah, I think time is running hot on us. We have to call it an end. Thank you very much for your presentation today, Francis. It is really meaningful, and it's not every day that we have someone coming in from Italy talking to us about culture and everything. And that is, germ, that is precious, and that's something we can't learn from books. So thank you very much for your presentation today. We hope you enjoy your time here with us also.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.